Call the December 21st, 2020 Belvedere City Council regular meeting to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Arevalo,
Present.
Brereton,
Here.
Fleury,
Present.
Frank,
Present.
Freeman,
Here.
McGee,
Here.
Porter,
Here.
Ratcliffe,
Here.
Snow,
Here.
Stevens,
Here.
10 present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, as we conduct our community's business this evening, we ask your blessings on this council who have been called to lead the community in which we live. Grant us the wisdom and courage to do what is right and good and true. Remind us that we are not only leaders, but also servants. It is our responsibility to serve the common good of all. These things we pray in your name, all that we hold sacred and right and true. Amen. Welcome, everyone. First things first, I wanted to thank the aldermen who went out and spread the good news to our businesses that we had some grant money to distribute. I appreciate your efforts. Under public comment this evening, we have two registered for public comment. First, I have Mr. Trivedi. Would you please come up and state your name and address for the record, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Burju Trivedi again. I was here a few weeks ago. Address is 1052 East Belvedere Road, Belvedere, Illinois, 61008. I own 3 of the businesses here. My firm is called Cloudgate Investments. Just here to speak again on the behalf of increasing the ordinance for the gaming licenses. And we're really excited to work with the city, and we just wanted to show our support and make sure that we're doing everything we can to help the city as much as we can. So just wanted to show my face again, but thank you for everyone for the support, and we hope to hear back from you. So thank you.
For attending this evening.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Next up, we have Mr. Andrew Race, who wishes to speak to the funding of the Ida Public Library. Mr. Race, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Short and to the point. We live in challenging times. I don't want to be a nudge. You know what a nudge is, right? If you understand Yiddish, a nudge. But I again urge you to do the right thing for the Ida Public Library and pass the levy it has requested to maintain the services it provides for the citizens of Belvedere. Do the right thing and provide the funds needed. Put aside your misconceptions of how the library operates and move ahead. The mayor, his prayer, asking for the wisdom and courage to do what is right. I buy that. I think that's what you need to do by the library. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Race. I don't have anybody signed up for public comment. I thought maybe they would be testifying in the public hearing. Okay. We have a public hearing which will be open for discussion, so they can testify there. Okay?
So we're gonna wait, we'll wait.
Okay. We have approval of minutes, and then we have a public hearing, which anyone can make comment in. And since you didn't file to make public comment, you can wait and do that. Okay? So next up, we have approval of minutes of the regular meeting of the Belvedere City Council of December 7th, 2020, as presented. May I have a motion to approve? Motion by Alderman Porter. May I have a second? By Alderman Frank. Questions, comments, or proposed amendments to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval will, when your name is called, signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay.
Arevalo,
Aye.
Brereton,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
Ratcliffe,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
10 in favor.
Thank you. Motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have a public hearing. This evening, we're entering into our public hearing at 7:07. The certificate of publication reads as follows. Rock Valley Publishing certifies that as published of the Belvedere Covenant that such paper is a secular newspaper of general circulation. In addition to that, I will read the notice of proposed property tax levy for the city of Belvedere. Public hearing to approve a proposed property tax levy for the city of Belvedere for 2020 will be held on December 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. at the City Council Chambers at 401 Whitney Boulevard, Belvedere, Illinois. Any person desiring to appear at the public hearing and present testimony to the taxing district may contact Becky Tobin, Budget Finance Officer of the same address. The corporate and special purpose property taxes extended or abated for 2019 were $5,710,158. The proposed corporate and special purpose property taxes to be levied for 2020 are $5,710.178. This represents a 0% increase over the previous year. The property taxes extended or abated for debt service through 2019 were 0. The estimated property taxes to be levied or abated for debt service for 2020 are 0. The total property taxes extended or abated for 2019 were $5,710,158. The estimated total property taxes to be levied or abated for 2020 are $5,710,158. This represents a 0% increase over the previous year. This tax levy for special service areas number 2 and number 3 shall not exceed 12% of the value as equalized or assessed of taxable property within those special service areas, published in the Belvedere Daily Republican, December 10th, 2020. So now we will have questions or comments concerning the public hearing. Do I have someone who wishes to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kim Hoff, 623 Julian Street here in Belvedere. I am speaking on behalf of the Ida Public Library. I am the current treasurer. I think there was some misinformation and some misrepresentation the last time that we were here regarding specifically the director's salary. To give a little bit of background into how the library develops their budget, we submit, the library is required to submit the budget to the city almost 6 months before the fiscal year starts. So the finance committee puts together kind of a range for salaries, and the personnel committee in the spring completes the director's review and then makes a recommendation to the rest of the board. So I think, as was stated last time, our current director is in the lower 10% of all Illinois directors. Of the local area, he's still well under that. So we put that in there as a range. I think one of the other things that, when the finance committee was putting that together, one of the biggest challenges that we'll face this year is the minimum wage increase. The library employs a lot of minimum wage employees. And so again, because we're approving our budget so much earlier in the year before the fiscal year starts, it will allow some leeway with wages, because in all honesty, we're not exactly sure how the budget will be affected with the salaries. So we wanted to make sure that we had that covered. And again, it's a range, and the personnel committee completes their due diligence. They do all the reviews, things like that, and then make a recommendation. To touch a little bit more on the minimum wage, the city doesn't employ a lot of minimum wage employees, so this isn't going to affect the city as much, excuse me, as it'll affect the library. Not only do we have to, when we bring in new part-time employees, they will have to be at the minimum wage, which will ramp up to $15 an hour. We have to also raise those employees that are doing higher level tasks or that have been working at the library for a longer time. So that affects the bottom line there as well. And then lastly, hopefully all of you come to the library. If you do, you'll notice that the stairs are crumbling. We're hoping to have those replaced this year. There are other things with an older building that just need to be repaired. So the 2.52% increase over last year's levy that the library is requesting is, the board feels that they are being financially responsible with the amount of money that is being asked and with how they are budgeting, how the library is doing their budget. So the money is passing through the city to the city library. We're all a team, we're all in the same community. The services that are offered and available to the community are very important, especially now with COVID and all the restrictions and for people coming and having access to computers and books and trainings and other kinds of services that the library offers. So thank you for listening tonight.
Thank you.
Does anybody, are there any questions?
Yes, Alderman Porter?
Okay, I guess I would ask, you said that you're not sure how the minimum wage increase would affect you, but you know how many employees you have and you know what the segmented increase is. It shouldn't be that hard to figure out, I wouldn't think.
Well, again, we're submitting our budget in December. Our fiscal year doesn't start until May 1st. A lot can happen between now and May 1st with, if we have different employees coming in. So if there are any new employees that may be hired. So again, there's still this amount of time that if there's any staff change, we would have to be able to adjust. And again, with our budget, I think when people think in terms of budgets, they see a number and that's the budget. The library actually has begun employing a 6-month review to check the numbers and see how everything is actually working within the budget. It's somewhat unorthodox in a business situation, but in our community and for this library, it works and helps to keep spending under control and make sure that funds are allocated correctly. So that's with the salaries, kind of one of the things that we need to keep an eye on.
Any other questions for Ms. Hoff? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Who else has comments concerning the library? Okay. So we will be moving out of the public hearing at 7:15 p.m. Under number 6, special messages and proclamations, we have Ms. Lopez Fettis on the phone. Pam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you very much for your time this evening. I wanted to share with you some updates about some of the projects that we've been working on. First, we've been working with an entertainment venue that is seeking 80 to 150 acres. They've chosen Belvedere due to its business friendliness, and they've been having some issues securing some space, some land. So they're looking at some retail space for to secure in the meantime. We're also have submitted for Project Elsa, which is a frozen food processing company, and Project Jupiter, which is a manufacturing company for PPE equipment. Our projects that we submitted this year have been 23. This is more than twice as much as what we did in 2019. We're also working with a production company to complete a video. We should have a draft tomorrow. It'll highlight our logistical advantage and quality of life in Boone County. So we're going to be able to have a completion of that project in January. We're also have updates regarding the Rock Valley College Technology Center. They will be providing these programs in the Belvedere location: mechatronics, welding, supply chain and logistics, CNC machining, cold forming, and some other general services like metrology lab. Their future potential is for automotive and continuous improvement, as well as supply chain and logistics. They're going to expand that. They're looking to start construction on January 4th and complete by June of 2021. And their first class is to be held in August. And you may have heard on the news that they're offering the first year free of tuition to residents within Rock Valley College District. So this is all real good news. But before I ask if there's any questions, I just wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday and 2021 safe and healthy holiday.
Questions or comments for Ms. Lopez Fettis?
I have a question.
Please proceed, Marcia, you have the floor. Go
Did
ahead.
you say I have the floor? I'm having a hard time hearing you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
Did you say I have the floor?
I did.
Thank you. So my questions are, I heard that the Rock Valley College thing had gone over budget and had was running into some snags as far as it was coming in higher than what they had originally thought, and that they might be rethinking the Belvedere location. They were getting some pressure to rethink the Belvedere location. So by what you said tonight, Pam, that's not true?
They are not rethinking the location. This is definitely go. They purchased the building a few months ago. This was actually at lower cost than like $1 million less than what they expected. But the cost, they did increase the cost because they increased the number of programs that are going to be available at this location. So initially it was going to be phased in. They are actually increasing the number of programs earlier rather than later. So there's a lot of other details that went into that increase. One being, providing transportation, and then adjusting the facilities to meet their needs based on the increase in programs.
Okay, thank you. And
You're welcome.
my other question was the CARES Small Business Grant that people had to have their applications in by the 15th. Have we made some progress on that?
Yes, I believe that Becky was probably going to report on that, but I'll touch upon a few, just some highlights, is that there were about 70 applications received and reviewed, and there was a request for $1.5 million as a total. And then as far as the rewards, which companies were awarded, I think Becky and the mayor and Alderman Snow can report to that.
Alderman
Okay,
Stevens.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Becky, do you want to brief the council?
I was just going to tell Marcia, it should have been in your email today. That email should have went out to everybody with all the grant recipients, and we were able to give out the entire $350,000.
Okay, good, thank you.
Marcia, just one addendum to your question about RVC. There was a movement in Rockford to try to take back the RVC, change the decision to move it back to a Rockford location. They are not over budget. There was contingency budget. The only reason that they had another $1 million in the budget for contingencies, which they're going to use because of the request to expand the programming. The Rock Valley Board voted on it, and it passed 5-2. It's coming. It's going to get started in the construction. It'll be done by fall. It's a generational.
Perfect, thank you.
It's a generational success for our community. Okay. Anybody else have questions for Pam? Okay. Thank you. Next up, approval of expenditures.
Thank you.
You bet. Under approval of expenditures, we have general and special fund expenditures of $1,533,954.32. May I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Arivalo. May I have a second? Second by Porter. Questions or comments concerning the motion now on the floor?
I have a question.
Please proceed.
I just have one tonight, and it's for Brent. On page 28, William Charles Electric, it's the very first one, $40,000 for a US 20 and South State Street master arm. I'm assuming that's for the stoplight there on the corner. And what happened to that? That's that's a pretty big expense.
It is. All three of those that you see to William Charles are all for traffic signal repairs. In particular, the first one at US 20 in South State, there was a traffic accident there that took out the mast arm and some of the controls, and that was the cost to replace that. That cost will be split between the city and the state. I think state pays for 75% of that, and then or 50%, and then we pay 50%, and insurance will cover the bulk of that cost through the accident process.
Okay, so if somebody, I mean, this might be a dumb question, if somebody has an accident and takes out a stoplight, their auto insurance isn't liable for any of that? That all goes to the city and the state?
No, we get reimbursed. We pay the bill, and then we go after the insurance, or we go after the insurance companies of the insured motorists to recover those costs.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Porter, you had a question? Please proceed.
Okay, I just had two questions. One is, I think I already know the answer, but on the first page here for the Boone County Sheriff, there's $22,650 for IT services. I'm assuming that's a half and half split with the city county. Is that correct?
Correct. That was a bill for our portion of IT services with the county.
And the other one is actually a sewer question, but I'll ask it now. It's for Brent. On page 50, for $16,347 for the Midwest Operating Engineers, it says health insurance. What is that for?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, what is health insurance for operating engineers? I'm trying to figure out what that is.
That's for our insurance coverage for our employees. And it's paid for operators. All of our public works employees have the operating engineers insurance coverage. So, yes, that's how we pay for that.
And Becky, what'd they save us last year?
We started saving money 2 years ago when they went to 3 tiers instead of 2 tiers. So now we can have single plus one, or family.
And it was a pretty hefty amount, like $180,000. So they're insured under their own program, and we pay the premium. Additional questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approval will, when your name is called, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Brereton,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
Ratcliffe, Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Arivalo,
Aye.
10 in favor.
Motion is approved unanimously, which brings us to the water and sewer fund expenditures of $310,868.21. May I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Rivalo, second by Porter. Questions, comments, or further discussion concerning the motion now on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval will, when your name is called, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
Ratcliffe, Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Arivalo,
Aye.
Brereton,
Aye.
10 in favor.
Motion is approved unanimously. Thank you so much. Moving on to number 8, committee reports and minutes of city officers. Please note that items A through H have been received and placed on file, which brings us to item I, minutes of the committee of the whole, building, planning, zoning, and public works of December 14th, 2020. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Ribolo, a second by Fleury. Questions, comments, or proposed amendments to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval will, when your name is called, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Frank,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
Ratcliffe, Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Arivalo,
Aye.
Brereton,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
10 in favor.
Motion is approved unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to unfinished business. First up, we have ordinance 511H. It's a second reading. It's an ordinance levying taxes for all corporate purposes of the city of Belvedere, Boone County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2020, and ending April 30th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Alderman Brereton. May I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Second by Alderman Stevens. Questions, comments concerning the motion now on the floor?
Snow would like to make an amendment.
Please state your amendment.
I'd like to change the library levy from the 726,224 to 744,524, which I believe is their original ask.
May I have a motion to approve the amendment?
I'll second that.
I have a motion second. All those in favor of the amendment now on the floor will, anybody have any questions or comments about the proposed amendment? Alderman Porter.
Yeah, Alderman Snow, could you expand on that a little bit? I didn't quite catch exactly what you were saying on that one.
Alderman Snow, would you please restate and explain your motion?
I'm revising the library portion down at the bottom of your page where it says 726,224 to read 744,525. And I believe that was the original ask from the library.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Additional questions or comments concerning the motion now on the floor? Yes, Alderman Porter, please proceed.
Okay, well, I thought the original ask was 726,224 is the way I understand it.
Becky?
So the original request, which would have included the increase that we had talked about during the announcement of the estimated levy, was the 744,525. This council did not want any increases in the levy ordinance, so we put it back to the 726,224, which is what their current levy is. So the decision is to leave it at its current levy, which is the 726,224, or give them the increase that we had discussed during the estimated tax levy, which is the 744,525.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments or clarification? Alderman Porter, please proceed, then Alderman Stevens.
Okay, I guess I have a question for Becky then. Under the city budget, under Exhibit B, we have salary increase of about 2.5% for quite a few people here. I'm assuming that's still on the table here. Is that correct? I mean, that's part of the new budget, right? The 2.5% increase?
You have the library's budget in your hand or the city budget?
I'm asking about the city budget right now, the non-salaried wage increases.
I don't know what you're looking at.
It says Exhibit B, we got it a while back here, has the increases on it.
Okay, so that was in our budget ordinance, when we passed the budget. That's in the fiscal year 21, or fiscal year 20 budget, is what you're looking at. That's the current fiscal year that we're in right now. Correct.
You've already passed that budget, and that's the one we're working under now.
You have something else?
Well, yeah, my comment, I guess, was since we did a 2.5% increase for those employees, I think the appropriate one for the director at the library would be 2.5% instead of like $18,000, which is what they're looking for, and that's a large part of this increase.
Is there some clarification from the library about what the actual conversation for the director's increase is, so everybody gets on the same page here, and then we'll get to you, Alderman
Thank you.
Stevens.
I'm Sue Holmes. I'm the president of the Library Board of Trustees. The library director's increase is directly tied to a performance evaluation, which will be conducted in February upon his one-year anniversary with the library. That dollar figure that in the line item is simply a dollar figure for which we will take whatever percentage increase, or if there is a percentage increase, for his salary. We are not proposing that entire percentage as an increase for his salary. And we don't know what that increase will be until we have conducted the performance evaluation.
I have a question, if I may. I was under the impression, something that was explained to me today, and sometimes I get things wrong, that line item was specifically for salaries, for consideration across the board, considering all employees of the library.
It will, it is the bucket from which we will pull additional salaries with the addition of the minimum wage increase and the corresponding increases that people will get who have been at the library prior.
That was my understanding. Please proceed.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna comment that at the 2.5% increase for the library director from 54,000, that would be about $1,350, so that's a little bit more appropriate, I think, if that was the case.
Alderman Stevens, you had comment.
Yeah, the 744, 525 is that the 2 1/4 over the 726, 224?
Correct. That's the percentage increase for the entire levy.
Okay, and like they said, that includes the director and all the other employees and other stuff, I should say.
Please.
And this might be, I don't know if Kim wanted to touch on this, I talked about the increase in the director line item in their budget. It was just almost a coincidence. It's the same dollar amount, almost exactly as what their levy was going to increase, and there was really nothing to do between the two. That number was from even before we had the levy numbers. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Just is a coincidence that it's $18,000. They've already had that number plugged in there before they knew what the increase the levy was going to be.
Are we all clear now? It took me a while to work through this. Yes, Alderman Burton.
Yeah, I'm just I'm curious as to how many library employees are back there as opposed to board members.
There are currently
None, okay. Well, because our last meeting on December 7th, I may have heard from an employee concerned where this money was going. And there are no employees here to defend this. And then, it's on video, I asked Mr. Carlisle, the director, where is the $18,000 going? You gave a list. I asked, who's getting the biggest salary increase? Yourself. I asked how much? You said up to $18,000. Then I said, that's a coincidence. Then you defended that, saying you were in a percentile, and you, being here since March, you need an $18,000 pay raise that's only going to cost each citizen of Belvedere $1. Is that correct?
Okay, does anybody have any problem with Director Carlisle coming up and speaking?
Mr. Burton, your questions are founded in some information that apparently you received from someone who may or may not have an issue that needs some resolution somehow. There was never an intent on the part of this board of trustees to give one single member of the staff the entire levy increase as a raise. That was never the intention. despite what you heard, despite what was said at the previous board meeting, that was never the intention. Our intention is to run the library as fiscally responsibly as we can, to offer all of the services despite the COVID pandemic that we're in, to treat our employees well, to give them what they deserve, to manage our facilities, which are old and crumbling in many ways. At no point did this Board of Trustees intend for the entire amount of levy increase to go to one person's salary, ever. You have my word.
Okay. Marcia, are you finished, or? Marcia, did you have a question or a comment?
I do. Thank you. I have both a comment and a question. My comment is, I believe that in at least 2 weeks, Alderman Brereington asked for copies of the library budget. And, you know, we were all told that it's easily accessible. You can look online. However, I feel like when the library is coming for an increase in their levy and a sitting alderman asks a request of a copy of the budget be included in our packet, that's probably the least they could have done. My question is for Attorney Drella. If the library doesn't get their levy increase and their steps are falling apart, could they come to the city and ask for funding with a proposal as to how much the steps would cost to replace, and could that be something that the council could then look at and approve separately or not?
I apologize for the pause because these are the kind of questions I'd prefer a heads up a couple days before so I could do some research on them, frankly. We cannot increase the levy once you approve the levy, and it goes to the county board to be spread, not the county board, the county clerk to be spread amongst the EAV across the city. So if your question is regarding can we at a later date increase the levy, no, we cannot. If your question is could the city use other funds of the cities, presumably from your general fund, to help the library, that would require some research on my part. And it also raises the bigger question of you're doing a flat levy for your own levy. Would the funds be available to help the library out? And that's a better question for Ms. Tobin as far as availability of funds. But the ability to essentially take tax funds which we have levied for purposes of the city of Belvedere and divert them to the library, that may be possible, but I want to do some research on it.
Okay, yeah, it was the latter. If they could just come and ask for, if they said it's going to cost us $4,000 to fix our steps, if that would be something that we could, scramble out of our general fund and give that to them separate from their levy. That's what I was referring.
Well, if I may, there is a question still hanging in the air, unfortunately, whether or not we as the city council have the right to deny their levy. It's a point of law, and it can be looked at from both sides. And that's what alarmed me initially from this discussion, was when Attorney Drella told us that, there's not sufficient history or example that is not the case. And so when we start talking about taking money from our city funds when we're voting down our levy to replace funds instead of letting them have their levy, which we may not have any right to deny, that's a sticky wicket. I think it would be a lot easier to either decide to approve their levy so they can fix their steps and have the money in their budget to cover any increases in payroll that they may have in the next year, And my understanding from the testimony tonight was that they're not even there yet in terms of the board determining raises for employees for this coming year, because their fiscal year runs, or their process runs differently than ours. So, you know, I'm striving tonight to try to make sure everybody understands the positions that have been expressed and the position of how the library operates and how they devise their budget and how their budget is then applied. My guess, and I extrapolated this from the testimony from some people, that they designed their levy ask to cover potential costs, including the steps and increases in salary as the year progresses, including the mandatory, was it bumped to 11%, $11 an hour for minimum wage for employees, and that their levy ask was based on all of those things. Just like when we do a levy ask, it's based on what we foresee from looking at the cost of living and staying within the tax caps, which we do even though we're home rule and we don't have to. So, you know, I think the planning process, and I don't know, I haven't sat with them while they've done their planning process. You know, we're not, members here are not members of their board. And so, you know, at some point, I think there's an awful lot of questions on this issue that have been somewhat answered tonight in terms of how they arrived at it and what it is really destined to cover. And I think we have a much better picture on what they need and how we, and then it's up to us to vote yes or no. So, and that may be not in our purview to do. So we will continue. Alderman Brereton, did you have something else you wanted to say?
I think Alderman Freeman has something.
Alderman Freeman?
Yeah. Speaking to that, Mayor, again, none of us have received a copy of the budget from either the city or the library. And being how, you know, the library does, in all reality, have a history of mismanaging their funds, I think that that would have been an important thing for them to have included. When it comes to the legality of it, you know, Attorney Jolis can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that nobody is going to deny them a levy. Nobody is trying to decrease their levy. The only thing on the table is whether or not to increase it. And so I think, yeah, it's illegal to deny them a levy, but I don't think it's illegal just to keep it the same and not either decrease or increase it.
No, that's not my understanding. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify that, the mayor alluded to the possibility and the question, the open-ended question, whether our home rule authority can modify a state statute. In this case, it's Section 3-5 of the Illinois Local Library Act. And Alderman Freeman, directly to your point, the first line of that act says, library taxes provided for in this act shall be levied by the corporate authorities in the amounts determined by the board, and it refers to the Board of Trustees for the library. So the statute itself does not give us any wiggle room if we are a non-home rule unit of government to modify the requested levy. And the open question that I shouldn't say is open because the way I drafted your levy ordinance utilizes our home rule powers to negate that state statute. And what I opined before is if this were litigated, I don't know how it would turn out.
And
And we
Marcia?
have a comment from someone from the library. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name for the record.
Okay, my name is Lydia Gonzalez. I'm on the Board of Trustees for the Ida Public Library. I am also on the Personnel Committee. We have committees that will be conducting the evaluations. That, I think, has been missed in the communications. And thank you for your questions. I do appreciate all of the questions because that helps us as well. And I'm sorry that Ms. Freeman didn't get a copy of the budget, but I believe that everyone did get the budget.
Yes, I did get it right after the meeting, and I did forward the email to everybody,
Thank
the
you.
email that was sent.
Thank you very much. And so in the Personnel Committee, we don't just arbitrarily rate or give a raise or a percentage to anyone. What we do is we do evaluations. We conduct interviews as to how the person is doing. Then we make our assessments, and then we will propose the raise in what we believe would be a good raise. And so there is a lot to go into it, so it's not like what I have heard that our director would get the entire thing, which is completely fictional, and it's just one of those things that needed some clarification, and I'm sorry you didn't get that. So, but that is how we operate. We have other committees as well, but I am on the Personnel Committee as well as 3 others.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Brereton?
Thank you. I just think, you know, we had this discussion on December 7th. I can tell you the time frame in the video if anybody wants to go watch it. It's about 27 minutes, 45 seconds to 29 minutes and 40 seconds on that YouTube video. And I think anything else discussed is a distraction to distract us from this large salary increase that I'm not supporting.
Alderman Frank?
I have to agree with Alderman Brereton. I think this whole presentation has been horrible. I had to listen to it last week or the week before when I heard this, and we have not gotten any clarification on anything, and it's just the water's muddy, and it's just clear as mud.
Alderman Porter?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm not in any way against the library, so don't